Begin today the Gemara on the Pei Gimel Amud Beis, the last two lines on the Yamud. The Gemara here is continuing to explain a brayse that it brought before that listed all the cases that one is chayv misa b'dei shemayim. And then the end of that brayse, it mentioned a lot of cases that relates to koyanim regarding eating. One of the main sources for misa b'dei shemayim is a koyan that's tomei that eats truma. From there you learn out to other cases as well, like a tomei that koyan tomei that served in the Beis Hamikdash, a tful yoim that serves in the Beis Hamikdash, so on. But in the end, it mentioned other cases of a kohen that serves in the Beis Hamikdash that will not be chayiv misa b'dei shemayim, and it's the lashon of the brayse says it's just an azhara. It's aser, a lav, or maybe even less than a lav, and it's not a chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. Okay, so that's where we're holding here in explaining this brayse. So the Gemara, avol orel v'oinen, one that does not have a bris, a kohen we're talking about, or a oinen on the day when a close relative passed away, or a yoshiv, a kohen that does the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash while he's sitting, ba'azhara. There's a warning, there's an iser, but there's no chiyav misa b'dei shemayim. So what's the source of all of these that a kohen may not serve in this way in the Beis Hamikdash? Zok the Gemara, orel min alon, what's the source of the orel? Omer Rav Chisda, so Rav Chisda says, dova zeh mitoris Moshe Rabbeinu lo lamadno. There's no source for any pasuk in the Torah that a kohen that doesn't have a bris is not allowed to do the avodah. Ad sheba Yecheskel ben Buzi v'lamadno. Until Yecheskel in a pasuk came and taught and says clearly that a kohen should not do the avodah as an odel. So it says in Rishonim that this Indian that a kohen is not allowed to do the avodah is a halacha l'Moshe miSinai. But it doesn't say it in any pasuk. And in the pasuk in Yecheskel it says Kol ben Nechar Orel Leiv. So Benecha Orelev refers to a kohen, which is a mumar, meaning that he's choosing not to make a bris. He's a Orelev, or he's separating from the Eibishter. And then the pasuk goes on to say V'orel basar. Orel basar means even if he wants to make a bris, but he can't, because in a case where one's brother died from a bris, and therefore it's a pekuach nefesh, he can't make a bris. So even in such a case, lo yavei al mikdashi l'shaseni. He should not come into the Beis Hamikdash and serve. That's the source in the pasuk by Yecheskel for the odel. But it's not even a lav actually. As you see over here, it's only learned out Malach l'Moshe miSinai in the pasuk in Yecheskel. So over here, there's no misa b'dei shemayim. Einan min alon. From where do I know that the einan may not serve in the Beis Hamikdash? T'chsiv, because the pasuk says, and here it's speaking about a kohen gadol. And it says, "U'min hamikdash lo yetze." The kohen gadol, even when he's an einan, he should not leave the Beis Hamikdash. Even if it's a father, a mother, a very close relative, he should continue doing the avodah. V'lo yechal es mikdashi, es mikdash l'kav, that is, he should not be mechal the Beis Hamikdash by leaving. So what do you learn from this? This is said about a kohen gadol. Ha'acher, but a rega kohen hedyet, another kohen shelo yatsa. If he does not leave when he's an einan chilal, he will desecrate the avodah. Therefore, we see over here that it's azhara that he's not allowed to serve while he's an einan. But Rav Ada asks Rava, if this is the source, and here the pasuk uses the term v'lo yechalel, if so, v'neilev chilul mitruma. Why don't we learn a gzeira shaveh from the term chilul that it says over here to the term chilul that it says by a kohen that's talmid that eats from truma? And there, I believe the pasuk is umeisu boiki yechaluluhu, that the Gemara brought before a few times, and Daf Pei Gimel, that there's a gzeira shaveh that we learn out from a kohen talmid that eats truma to other cases. So we should compare to this case as well, that you should be chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. Ma'ala alom b'misa, avkan b'misa. So the Gemara answers, you can't learn out from here, because mi ksiv bei begufei. Does it say regarding the kohen hedyet that serves while he's an einan that he was mechalal? It doesn't say befedish that he's mechalal. Miklala kasi. We're only deducing it from this that it says regarding a kohen gadol that if he's going to leave, he's going to be mechal. That the kohen gadol is supposed to stay and do the aveda. So therefore, have a davar abba and a klal. So this halacha that we're saying regarding the kohen hedyet that's not allowed to serve, we're just deducing it from what it says befedish lo yechal, but it doesn't say the term yechal regarding the kohen hedyet itself. The chol davar abba and a klal, if it's only being learned out from something else, ain't done a b'gzeira shaveh. You can't learn it out with the gzeira shaveh of chilul to truma. The next case, Yoshev min alon. From where do I know that the kohen should not do the avodah while he's sitting? Omar Rav, Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Kra. The pasuk says, "Ki boy bachar Hashem." The Eibush chose the kohen. Hashem alekecha mikol shvatecha la moed l'sharis. That he should stand and serve. La mida bachartiv v'lo liyeshiva. That he should stand and serve, and he should not sit and serve. That's the source. Now Rashi here brings from the Gemara in Zvachim that actually says that a kohen that serves in the Beis Hamikdash while he's sitting is no different than a zar. He's like a zara, Yisrael, that's not supposed to be doing the Aveda, that does the Aveda in the Beis Hamikdash. And then Rashi adds, the Gemara there asks, if so, by a zar that does the Aveda in the Beis Hamikdash, he is chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. Here, regarding the kind that does the Aveda b'yeshiva, is not chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. And Rashi says the reason we don't learn out from here is because, based on what we already learned before in the Gemara on Daf Pei Gimel, it comes out that the Torah is saying the chiyuv of misa b'dei shemayim 3 times. One regarding a zar, another one regarding a kohen shalei rachatz yadayim v'raglayim, he didn't wash his hands and feet, and the third case, a kohen that drinks wine and goes into the Beis Hamikdash. And everybody agrees, if the Torah repeats something 3 times, shloisha ksuv mabam ke'echad, you can't learn out from there to another case. That shows that the Torah means it only there, and that's why regarding sitting b'yeshiva, doing the Aveda, there's no chiyuv misa b'dei shemayim. Balmom, now regarding a kohen that has a blemish in his body, and he serves in the Beis Hamikdash, so here there was a machlokes. Rebbe yomer b'misa. So Rebbe says there's a chiyuv misa in this. V'chachamim oimrim b'azhara, that it's only a azhara. So what's the source of the machlokes? My time at the Rebbe. What's the Rebbe's source? Because the pasuk says, "Ach ela pareiches lo yave v'gaimer," by a balmum. He should not come by the pareiches to serve in the Beis Hamikdash. And the pasuk here goes on to say, "V'lo yigash kimum boy." And v'lo yichal es mikdashi ki ani Hashem mekacham. You shouldn't be mechal the Beis Hamikdash. So it uses the term v'lo yichal there. So therefore we learn out v'yalev chilul mitruma. We compare the term chilul that it says there and the term chilul that it says by a kohen tameh that eats from truma. Mal alom b'misa avkam b'misa. There it's misa b'dei shemayim. Here as well it's misa b'dei shemayim. The Gemara asks on this, how do you know? And this is a question the Gemara asked similar before on Daf Pei Gimel regarding a couple of cases. V'neilef chilul minaisa. Maybe the term chilul, the gzeira shava, instead of learning out from truma, a kohen that eats truma when he's tameh, maybe learn out the term chilul from the term chilul that it says in the Torah by naisa. There it also says chilul. And then the halacha is different. It's not misa b'dei shemayim. Mala alom b'karis, avkam b'karis. The einish is karis, which is even actually more than misa b'dei shemayim, because by karis it means even the descendants of the person get cut off. There's no continuation of generations following him. Says the Gemara, mistavre mitruma avalei lemelef. There's a svara to say that this case of a kohen that's a balmum, that you have to learn out from truma, to say that he's chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. What's the comparison? Shekem psul aguf. In both cases, whether he's a balmum, whether he's a kohen that's tamei, there's a psul in his body. Mipsul aguf. I'm learning it out the psul of his body when he's a balmum from the psul of the body when he's tamei. By noisa, there's no psul in the body, so it's not mistava to learn from there. But the Gemara says, no, Adarab, on the contrary, I'll show you how it's more mistava to compare the kohen that serves as a balmum in the Beis Hamikdash, to compare that to the isser of eating noisar. Mi noisa avalei lemelaf. Why? Sheken kaidesh. Number one, you're dealing with something which is related to a carbon, kaidesh, not truma. Pnim, it's an aveda inside the Beis Hamikdash, and it's pigul v'naisa. It's regarding an aveda in the Beis Hamikdash, which the concept, the psul of pigul and naisa applies to it. So there's more reasons actually to compare the kohen, the balmum that's serving in the Beis Hamikdash to naisar than to compare to truma, where none of these things apply. So the Gemara Text says it's true that these svaris are better reason to learn out from naisar. So Ella, therefore the Gemara changes and says mitamei sheshimish gomar. We're learning out the kohen that's a balmum that serves in the Beis Hamikdash, that is chayiv misa b'dei shemayim according to Rebbe. We're learning it out from the kohen that's the kohen that is tameh that serves in the Beis Hamikdash. And then now the kohen that's tameh that serves in the Beis Hamikdash is also chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. He as well, the ultimate source of that is from the kohen that's tameh that eats truma, because over there's also a gzeira shava. But we learn out now the kohen that's a balmum from the kohen that's tameh that serves in the Beis Hamikdash. And here it makes sense to compare them, as the Gemara explains. Gamar psula guf mi psula guf. We're learning out the case of a kohen that's tameh, which is a balmum that has a psula guf, from the kohen that's tameh that has a psula guf, and it's kaidesh. They're both in this inyan of kaidesh regarding karbanis and pnim inside the Beis Hamikdash, and pigul v'naisa regarding a carbon which is pigul and naisa. The halachas of pigul and naisa applies there. Mi kaidesh pnim pigul v'naisa. So just like by the kohen that's a balmum, the same by the kohen that's tameh, all of these apply, and therefore it's mistaver to compare them. Yeah, I mentioned before when we learned this in Daf Pei Gimel that b'derech klal by gzeira shavis, we don't look at these kinds of svaris to make pirchis and things like this, whether to compare, whether not to compare. But we're talking here about a gzeira shava where there was no clear Messiah, there was no clear halacha l'moshe misinai from where it started out. So therefore the Gemara is going through these svaris to explain where the source is. Okay, so this is all Rebbe. So Rebbe held that by a kohen balmum that serves, he's chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. But Rabbanan disagree. But Rabbanan Omar Kra, Rabbanan will tell you, Omar Kra, the pasuk says, boy, over there, the source by the kohen that eats truma when he's tamei, the pasuk there says, v'shamras mishmarti. So it's the lashon of the pasuk here, the boy. It says, umesu boy ki chalalu. So that word boy is extra. What is it saying? Boy v'loy b'balmum. It's coming to be Mamayit the Balmum that he will not be Chayiv Misa B'dei Shemayim. Now Rashi here explains, even though the Gemara before did learn out other cases from the Kohen that's Tommy that eats Truma, and we didn't say the Miyat of Boy. That's because the other cases that we learn out from there are very similar to the Kohen Tommy that eats Truma. The Kohen that's Tommy that serves in the Beis HaMikdash, and the Kohen that's a Tful Yoim that serves in the Beis HaMikdash, and we also had a case of Tevel before, which is related to Truma. Other cases that are very similar to Truma, we do learn out. The Miyut of Bai is only according to the Rabbanan, only by this case of a Balmum, because a Balmum has nothing to do with Truma. It's a different thing, it's a blemish. And therefore, over here, the Miyut of Bai goes only on the Balmum. That's what the Rabbanan hold. The next case that's said in the Braise, Hizid b'me'ila, someone that is going to have anah from something from the kachim, from the Beis HaMikdash, b'meizid, deliberately. So Rabbi Yomi b'misa, Rabbi says he's chayiv misa, v'chacham memrim ba'azhara, chacham say it's only a lav, but there's no misa. My time with the Rabbi, what's Rabbi's source for this? Amar Rabavo, the pasuk says, Rabavo says, Gama, he learns out, chet mitruma. Gzeir shove, the word chet that it says, by Mi'ila, the lashon of the pasuk there is v'nefesh kisimul mal v'chata, and by truma as well. When a person that's tameh that eats from the truma, pasuk says v'lisol of chet u'meisa by ki chalalu. So the gzeir shava to say that the same misa b'dei shemayim applies. Ma'alalam b'misa avkam b'misa. But the Rabbanan go back to the miyat that we just said. Omakra, boy v'loy b'mila. That word boy also excludes mi'ila because similar to a balmum, mi'ila is a kind of case that has no connection to the union of tumah. So it's memayat that by mi'ila there's no misa b'dei shemayim. So it doesn't mean that the Rabbanan don't hold of this gzeir shava chet. They do hold of this gzeir shava chet to say that there's a hazhara, that there's a isser. But on the other hand, though, he holds of the miyat of boy that it's memayat misa b'dei shemayim. Okay, now going back to what it said in the Mishnah, Zar sheshimish b'mikdash, a Zar that serves in the Beis HaMikdash. So there was a machlokes in the Mishnah before whether this is a misa b'dei shemayim. This is a Mishnah on Daf Pei Aleph. Zar sheshimish b'mikdash. Rabbi Akiva says that there's a misa b'dei adam actually, b'chenek. And Chachamim say b'dei shemayim. The Gemara here brings the source of this machlokes. Tanya, we learned Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel said nemakan v'azar hakorev yumos. Regarding a zar that does the Aveda, it says you must. So this is the zar sheshimish. So what does this you must here mean? V'nem ala alon. Then there's the pasuk where it says kol akarev al mishkan Hashem yamus. Whoever's going to come close to the mishkan of the Eibusher will die. That's actually after the story of Kairach, when 250 men brought the Ketairis and they weren't supposed to, and they all died, and Kairach died. So after this, the Yidden complained, and the Yidden said that what's going to be that we're all going to die. So the Eibusher says the Levium have to guard the Beis HaMikdash, and any zar that comes close, Yamus, will die. So Mala Alon Bidei Shemayim, just like over there, the ones that came and they served the 250 men that brought the Ketairis, and how did they die? Bidei Shemayim. Right? There was a fire that came down and burnt them. Avkam Bidei Shemayim. So here when it says by the zar, Hazar HaKarev Yumas, it means Bidei Shemayim. Rabbi Akiva says no. The term that it says here, you must, we learn from a different place. There's another pasuk where it says by a novi sheker. The pasuk says you must, that he dies. Just like over there by the novi sheker, the misa that is chayiv skila. The Gemara learned that earlier in the Masechta. Afkan beskila. So too his misa is skila. Okay, 1 second. Does it say? Yeah. So that's the limit. So we see over here that you chayiv skila. So instead of comparing it to the Yom Mus that it says by after the story of Kairach, we compare it to the Navi Sheker. Okay, so the Gemara now explains both opinions here, whether you should compare it to this or to that. It says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, before the Gemara explains, this is a third opinion here. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, Mala alon bechenek, avkan bechenek. That the punishment over there is actually by the Navi is chayiv chenek, not chayiv skila. Okay, actually the hezbollah for this is going to come later. We're going to see in the next perek about this, whether it's chenek or skila. Okay, so now the Gemara explains what the machlekes here is. B'mai kamiflagi. What are they arguing about? Whether you should compare it to the Navi Sheker or you should compare it to the Lashon of Yomos that it says after the story of Kairach. So, b'mai kamiflagi Rabbi Shmuel v'Rabbi Akiva. What is their argument about? Rabbi Akiva savar donin yumos mi yumos. We learn out the term yumos that it says over here by the Zar and the term yumos that it says by the Navi Sheker. It's the exact same word. But vein donin yumos mi yomus. It's not exactly the same word. So this is the Gzeira Shava, Dafki Yumos. Rabbi Shmuel Sava, Rabbi Shmuel says, Donin hedyet mehedyet. Even though it's not exactly the same word, but it's more mistaber to compare to the case of what happened by Kairach, because there it's talking about any Yid that's going to come to the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore we compare also the Kayin that's serving the Beis HaMikdash when he's, or a Zar rather, a Zar that's serving the Beis HaMikdash, also a hedyet. Vein done in hedyet min Navi. We're not going to learn out the case of a hedyet to a case of a Navi. But Rabbi Akiva answers to that. Kivin shehi diyach ein lecha hedyet gadol mizeh. This Navi that is a Navi Sheker, and he's being madiach, he's telling him to do things against Hashem. He's not called a Navi anymore. He's called a hedyet. So therefore, we do compare to this. The Gemara goes on to say, "B'mai kamifligi Rabbi Akiva v'Rabbi Yechon ben Nuri." What's the source of their machlekes? V'plukte the Rab Shimon v'Rabbanan. The machlekes is the same machlekes as Rab Shimon and Rabbanan, which was brought earlier. It's going to be brought later also in the next pedic where it discusses all the cases that are chayiv chenek. The Tanya, Navi shehidiach beskila. One opinion is that the Navi that says a nevuah sheker and he's madiach yidden against the Eibishter, so he's chayiv skila. Rab Shimon says bechenek, that he's chayiv chenek. So according to what it's saying here, Rab Akiva that says beskila follows Rab Shimon's opinion. And Rabbi Yechon ben Nuri follows the Rabban's opinion in this brayse. Okay, but now the Gemara asks on this, in the Mishnah, that this is all based on Daf Pei Aleph, Ho'anan Tanan, and the Mishnah it said, Rabbi Akiva Oime B'chenek. Rabbi Akiva is the one that says chenek. Here, in this brayse that we're quoting, it says Rabbi Akiva is the one that says skila. Rabbi Yechon ben Nuri is the one that says chenek. So it's not the opposite of what it says in our Mishnah. Says the Gemara, Terei Tanoi, V'alibet de Rabbi Akiva. There are two different Tanoim that are arguing what Rabbi Akiva's opinion is. Masnisen is Rab Shimon, V'alibet de Rabbi Akiva. In the Mishnah, it's Rab Shimon that's quoting Rabbi Akiva that says Chenek. And Braise, here it's the Braise, Rabbanon, V'alibet de Rabbi Akiva. This is the Rabbanon according to Rabbi Akiva that say that Rabbi Akiva holds that the Einish is going to be Skila, not Chenek. Hadran Aloch, Elu Hein an Israfim. We shall return to you the 9th Pedic of the Sanhedrin, Pedic Elu Hein HaNechnokim. Elu Hein HaNisrafim. Okay, yeah. Got the next volume of the Art Scroll?
That's good.
Okay. Okay, we begin the 10th Pedic, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, Elu Hein HaNechnokim. So this is the last of the category of all the 4 mises, and according to the opinion of the Rabbanon, it's actually the lightest of the mises, Elu Hein HaNechnokim. So the Mishnah, the following are chayiv mise through chenek, by strangulation. And the Gemara described earlier in the Masechta exactly how that's fulfilled. Hamake ove v'imay, one that hits a father or a mother. V'gainev nefesh mi Yisrael, one that kidnaps a person from Yidden. V'zoken mamrei al pi bezdin, a case of a zoken, he's from the bezdin and he rebels against the bezdin agadol in Yerushalayim, that's in the Beis HaMikdash. And all these cases that are mentioned here in the Mishnah, it's being listed here, and then in the Pedic here, it's going to say the details of the halachas of all these things. The Navi HaSheker, a false prophet. V'amisnabe b'shem Avodas Kechavim, one that prophesies in the name of Avodah Zarah. V'abal Eishes Ish, one that has a relation with an Eishes Ish, is Chayev Chenek. And v'zoymeme bas kayin, the case of a bas kayin. So regarding the bas kayin, if she's mezana when she's an eishes ish, beish tisarev, as we learned ba'arichas in the Masechta before, she's chayiv sreifa. But it says over there the pasuk, he tisarev, that she is the he tisarev means only she. But if there's if Adam said about her that she's chayiv sreifa, and then they were found to be false Adam, and you always have to give them the punishment that they intended to give her. But in this case, though, they will get an einish of misa, but not sreifa, only chenek. And also ubayalo, the one that was bayal, this eishes kayin. So you also learn out from this that. Okay, let me just clarify the drasha again. Hitisarev is the source that you learn out from there, not the boil. So Rashi explains that's the case of the boil. Hitisarev and not the boil. But by the case of Zaymimin, it says in the pasuk, that when he said Eidos, that someone was boiled, this Bas Kayin, and she's getting Sreifa, and he is getting Chenek, we give the Edom Zaymimin the punishment of Chenek that he wanted to give Achiv, the man, and not the woman. So this is another two cases where you chayev Chenek. Again, the Zaken Mamre. We'll see. Okay, we'll see the details in the Gemara later. The Gemara starts off with the first case of the Mishnah, Makkeh Ovevimai. Talk to Gemara Makkeh Ovevimai Minallah. What's the source of this that you chayev Chenek? The pasuk says, Makkeh Ovevimai Maisiyumas. One that hits a father or a mother is chayev Misa, and the Misa here, V'chol Misa, Ha'amur b'Torah Stam. The rule is, if the Torah says the term Misa, and you don't have any other specification which Misa it is, Eina Ela Chenek. The Misa is Chenek. How do you know that this simply means to hit a father or a mother? Maybe only if the term Makkeh here means that he strikes a father or mother and they die. If he kills a father or mother, then this person would be chayiv chenek, not just hitting. So the Gemara says, how could he say this? You would think to say kotel chad if one hits and kills another yid, not a father or mother, besayif. So then his misa is with a sayiv, which is a more stringent misa. V'aviv b'chenek. And when one hits a father or a mother, so then that's a worse thing. So over here, his level of misa is a level down, only chenek. How could that be? So therefore, it must be that here Makkah V'imay just means to hit, not to kill. But the Gemara asks, chenek kal. The answer you just gave is good according to the opinion, according to the Rabbanan that say that chenek is the lightest of all misas. But according to Rab Shimon that we had earlier in the Masechta that says chenek chamor, that chenek is actually more severe than sayif. So what are you going to say? Adarabi, you could say that because it was a father and a mother, he gets a misa which is a level up from sayif. It's chenek. Ella says the Gemara, the source is midchsiv, because when it comes to a case where one yid hits another yid, the pasuk says makei ish v'meis mois yumos. When one hits someone and he dies, so then Moisyumas, he's chayiv misa. Uksiv, and then the pasuk says, Oy be'eve hiko biyodoi v'yomos, that he hit him with hatred and he died. So then you're going to be chayiv misa for this. So Shmami, now from here we learn that kol heiche de ikke hakah stam lav misuhu. That whenever it says in the Torah the term hakah stam, it's not going to be misa. It doesn't mean that the hakah is that you killed. Over there it says makeh ish v'meis. Over here, by the father and mother, it just says Makkeh Ovevimai, without a mace. So that's a distinction that we see over here, that it means just hitting a father and mother. Now here, B'derech Agav, since the Gemara brought up the pasuk where it speaks about one that kills another yid, Makkeh Ish V'meis Mois Yumos, the Gemara will bring that there's another pasuk where it speaks about this, and it'll explain why you have to have both psukim. Says the Gemara, v'itzrich lemichtav makeish. The pasuk that we just mentioned, makeish, that pasuk is necessary, and v'itzrich lemichtav, and it's also necessary to write the other pasuk where it says kol makei nefesh. Also, another pasuk where it clearly says this is what it's right near the other pasuk that the Gemara just quoted, where it says oy be'eva hiko. It's a pasuk in Parshas Maseh where it speaks about a ritzayach, and then there's the pasuk in Parshas Mishpatim where it speaks about a ritzayach. So why does it have to say twice? And it also says kol makei nefesh. So the Gemara explains: if we would only say the pasuk in Parshas Mishpatim makei ish v'meis havamine ish, it says only one that kills a man. The bar mitzvah, if he's already a godly, the bar mitzvah, that's when he's going to be chayiv misa for this. Then yes, cotton loy. However, if one kills a child, he won't be chayiv misa for this. Nefesh, any nefesh, any person, even a cotton. On the other hand, because nefesh havamina filin of fallen. That would be even if a person kills someone that's not a viable child, not a viable life, that would be included as well. And afilu ben shmaina, or even a child that's born to the 8th month in the Gemara's times. The Gemara always uses this as an example for a child that's not viable, that's not going to live. So therefore it's necessary to say both psukim. It says ish, that has to be a person that's a viable life. Okay, that's beneged to the case of a person that's ritzayach, that he kills someone else. The Gemara explains these two psukim here. Now it goes back to the case of one that's makkah oviv, one that hits a father or a mother. So if you're learning it out from this pasuk, that should include even just hitting a father or a mother where it did not cause, there should be a wound from this, that he hit his father or mother. So, and now Alamed Tanan, why does it say later here in the Mishnah, in the next blot, Hamaka Ave v'imoi ein chayv at sheyasa ben chabura, that he's only going to be chayv misa if he hit them hard enough that it creates a wound. What's the source for this? It says the Gemara on Makra, because the pasuk says Make Adam or Make Behema. We compare the two, Make Adam and Make Behema. Make Behema, just like when one hits and injures someone else's animal, Ad Avid Be Chabura, he's only going to be chayiv for this if he makes a wound in this damage. Tichsiv Ba, because the expression that the Torah uses by hitting and damaging someone else's animal, Nefesh. Over there, the Torah says the term nefesh. The lashon of the pasuk over there is u'makei nefesh behema yishalmena. So nefesh means the blood, the life. That means that there was a wound that you made in the other person's animal. So af maka adam. So too when the pasuk here says maka adam together with maka behema ad avid chabura. So we compare when one hits a father and mother and is chayv misa. That's only if there was a wound. That's the source. But the Gemara asks on this source, Maskefla Rav Yirmiyah asks, how could this be? Ela mayata. If so, hekchisha ba'avonim hachanami d'loy mechayev. If one goes and damages and kills someone else's animal or damages another person's animal, and he didn't make any wound, he just loaded rocks on top of this animal, and the animal crushed down and got hurt, but there was no wound there. Are you going to say that you're not chayiv to pay for the damage that you caused? That can't be. If you cause a damage to someone else's animal, like any other object that you cause a damage to, you should be responsible to pay, whether it was with a wound or not. So therefore the Gemara says, you're right. It can't be that the term nefesh, that it says by the behemah, that it means that only with a wound are you going to be chayiv to pay. So Ella will say, Im eino inyan lenefesh behemah. So that term nefesh, that the Torah writes by a behemah, if it cannot be used to be relevant by the behemah, because the ha'inami yekchisha ba'avanim chayiv, because there we must say that even if you just caused it to die or to be damaged by loading rocks on it, without any wound. So Tanayu Enyel Nefesh Adam. So the term nefesh that the Torah writes by behemah is extra there. It does not apply there, and it's applied to another case. It's applied here to the case when a person hits a father and a mother, that he's only going to be chayiv if there was nefesh, meaning there was a wound where you could see the blood that came out from, or a wound that you see from what he hit. That's the limud. Okay, but now the Gemara goes back though, since we refuted the hekesh that was mentioned before, the Gemara wanted to say that the limud is from the hekesh that we compare make adam to make behemah, so ella hekesh lamali. So that hekesh, what is it coming to teach? Says the Gemara, Tanya, the Bechizkiah. It was already brought earlier in the Masechta that there's by Chizkiah they explained what the comparison is, and there the Gemara said that from here you learn out the halacha of kam le b'derabba minei, even in a case where it's a shegeg. Kam le b'derabba minei means that if you get a more stringent punishment like miseh, you don't have to pay. The lighter punishment of paying doesn't apply. So Tana de Bechizkiah learned out from this comparison of Maka Adam to Maka Behemah, just like by Behemah, when you injure or you damage someone's property, there's no difference between a mezid, shegeg, you'll always be chayiv to pay. So too the halacha of Maka Adam, of Kamle B'derab Minei, we don't make a distinction whether you chayiv actual misa because it was done b'mezid, or even if it was b'shegeg, the Kamle B'derab Minei applies. That's the comparison that they taught by Chizkiah. But the Gemara says not everybody agrees to this. This is a good answer for those that agree to this. But those that disagree and say that is only if you actually chayiv misa, only b'mezid, hekesh shalomali. This hekesh of Maka Adam and Maka Behemah, what is it coming to teach? Says the Gemara, it's teaching the following. Ma Maka Behemah l'refuah patur. Just like in a case of Maka Behemah, that if this is something that was being done for healing purposes, he's going to be patur of paying, right? So, for example, if a person is taking out blood from the animal, the mak is dam, he's not doing it to injure. Adarab, he's doing it for refuah, so he'll be patur. Af maka adam l'refuah patur. So too by the case of maka adam, and Rashi says what this refers to is regarding a father. If a person is a doctor and he's taking out blood from his father for the purpose of healing him, since it's for refuah, even though he's making a chabura, he's going to be patur. That's the comparison here. Now the Gemara brings it, the source of this, the Ibayalahu, there was a Shaila asked about this. Ben Mao Sheyakis Dam Laviv. A son that's a doctor, is he allowed to take out blood from his father? Or do I say that he's doing it for the refuah, so it's okay? Or no, he's making a chabura, he's making a wound. So Rav Masna says, it says in the pasuk, "V'ahavta l'reyacha kamaycha," that you should love your fellow like yourself, and therefore what we learn from there is that you only are not allowed to do something to someone, and in this case, a son to a father, if he doesn't want it. But if you're doing it with love, you're doing it for refuah, so that's part of After L'Acha Kamecha, so then it's not a problem. Rav Dimi Bachinana says, he agrees, and he says the source is this hekish. Maka Adam or Maka Behema. Ma Maka Behema l'refuah pater. If you're doing this to an animal, and it's only done for the refuah purposes, you pater. Af Maka Adam l'refuah pater. So too by Maka Adam, if a son to a father to take out blood will be pater. Okay, but now here the Gemara brings regarding this, that Rav, or the Bachia brings the Gerset of Pape, Leishavik Librei Lemishkal Siluya. He didn't allow his son to take out a splinter that he had, because he was afraid he's going to take out a splinter, he might cause him a wound, and then he's going to be over on this Isser of making a wound for a father. He didn't allow his son to open up a wound that he had. He had a wound with pus to heal him and to help him open it up. He didn't allow him to do it because he might make a wound. Dil mechavel. He's going to make a wound, and then v'havalei shigigas isser. And then b'shegig, he'll be over on a isser. Okay, so the Gemara, there's a discussion over here in the Rishonim about this, whether these Amirayim disagreed with the limud that the Gemara brought before, and therefore they said that they didn't want this to be done, or at all, which means even in a case where there's no other doctor available. The son is the only doctor that's available, but nevertheless they did not want this to be done, even though it might not make a wound, might necessarily not even cause a wound, but since it might cause a wound and they didn't hold of the limit that the Gemara brought before, so therefore they said that they didn't want to allow their son to do this even if there's no other doctor. Or others say that no, they held of the limit before, that if it's being done l'refuah, then it's allowed, but nevertheless, if there's another doctor available, that's when they said better use another doctor and not use your son as a doctor. That's Machlekes Rishonim, exactly how you learn Pshat over here. But now the Gemara asks on this, why are we saying this only with a son and a father? Ihachi acher nami, even just one yid and another yid. You should say the same exact thing. That one yid shouldn't take out a splinter or heal another yid in a case where it may cause a wound, because even by another yid, you're not allowed to hit another yid. Besides the Isser of obviously a Ritzeach, when one kills another, that Yechayiv Mise, but Rashi here brings the Lashon, the pasuk where it says by Malchus, Lo Yosef, that you're not allowed to give an extra Malchus. You hit a Yid, one extra, you're over on a lav. So, by any doctor, any Yiddish doctor, to heal another Yid, if he's taking out a splinter or whatever it is, he might be doing something which is a Isser. So how could you allow one Yid to heal another Yid? So the Gemara says, no, Acher is shigigas lav, benoi shigigas chenek. By another yid, it's only a lav, and therefore it's a shegig that he might do b'chavana something that he could lead it to al isser of a lav. Over here, Chacham weren't chayshish for this. Over here, there's no problem. But by a son, which is shigigas chenek, that's something which is much more severe. Over here, they were chayshish for this. But the Gemara asks on this, but we see benigay to a case where there is a punishment of Mise, and we're not chayshish for this. Where is this? This is the Mishnah says in Shabbos, machat shal yad, a needle. That's a small needle that's used, little ba'asakaitz, to take out a splinter. On Shabbos, you're allowed to use this needle to take out a splinter on Shabbos. Alright, so the question is, how are you allowed to do this? Leichish dil mechavel, v'havilei shigaskile. On Shabbos, if you're taking out a splinter and then you cause a chabala, you cause a wound, so this is actually on Shabbos, to make a chabala is one of the malachas on Shabbos. I think from Sheichet it's learned out. So this could lead to a isser of skila. So how on Shabbos do we allow someone to take out a wound, or to take out rather a splinter that could cause this wound? Answers the Gemara, no, but there it's not going to lead to skila, because Hasan Mekalkalhu over there, since what he's doing is not constructive, it's Mekalkal, it's the opposite, it's destroying. Over here, if it causes a wound, then it's not something that has a positive constructive purpose, and by Shabbos, it has to be Melechas Machsheves, which is something that is doing something constructive. In this case, you're not going to be chayiv. But the Gemara asks on this, not everybody agrees to this. This is according to the opinion that says that Mekalkal is potter even in such a kind of a case. But according to the opinion that says that in such a case of Mekalkal by a chabura, you will be chayiv. So what are you going to say? Why on Shabbos you're allowed to use this kites, or to use this machat, that is, to take out a kites if it may lead to isaskila? Says the Gemara, man shamet leidam and mekalkel b'chabura chayev. Who's the opinion that says that if you're being mekalkel and you create a chabura that you will be chayev on Shabbos? It is a chayev skila. Rab Shimoni. This is Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon ha'amar, and Rab Shimon is the one that says kol malacha she'ein tzricha legufa pater aleh. Rab Shimon says that if you're doing a malacha and you don't need the guf of the malacha itself, then you're pater. So in this case, what would be the actual malacha? The actual malacha is the wound that he causes, which brings out blood. So if he would need the blood, that would be the malacha that he's doing, that like sheikhet, that he would be chayav for this. But over here, when he's taking out the splinter, he doesn't need the blood. He's just trying to take the splinter out. So therefore, according to Rab Shimon, even though he holds mekalkel b'chabura would be chayav, but nevertheless, taking out a splinter, there would be no chayav because it's a malacha she'ein tzricha legufa, and therefore, in such a case, we're not chayshish that it might happen, and the chachamim allowed. There's no gzeida for this. You can take out the splinter on Shabbos.